Hello, Aditi. We'll wait for a few minutes. We have some people joining in. People are joining in now. We'll start. We'll just give it a minute and then we can start. Okay, I think we'll start now. So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon to all the people on the Mindful Running Facebook Live page right now. And welcome to the conversation. Um, for exercise enthusiasts, mostly, it has been long known that physical activity helps with mental health. And yet, the incorporation of exercise as a key component seems to be missing. Exercise ought to be considered more seriously and prescribed in treatment protocols in the same way that talk therapy and medication are. Studies show that the more someone exercises, the less likely they are to have depression. But it's also quite possible that people don't exercise because they are depressed. People who experience or have experienced depression often get so fed up when they are told just exercise more. If it were that easy, everyone would be doing it. That said, exercise should absolutely be included in a broader toolkit to help people. Mental health and mental illness affects lots of people, including high performers and high achievers, and oftentimes you will never be able to guess who it affects. There are numerous benefits of running and exercise per se, and the list can go on and on. But today, I want to focus on how running can be offered as one of the natural solutions to deal with emotional lows and mental illness. There is more than enough evidence that shows that running is not only good for your physical health, but also your mental health. And we have heard about this and read about this in multiple places. And also the feeling of a runner's high and the release of endorphins and whatnot. We've been hearing about this for years. While we read this in various places and have no doubts about, and have no doubts about it, what it really makes a difference, when we have someone here who's going to be joining us shortly, who has actually lived and experienced the entire thing, the whole thing about exercise being so good for you, especially when you're low and you're depressed. And honestly, these topics aren't really discussed enough. And I really hope through this conversation that many will find this conversation valuable and useful. So today we are going to talk about mental health and running in specific. And I will be chatting with our guest Tarini Pal on her experience with how running played an important role in dealing with mental health and how it can be offered as one of the coping mechanisms in your toolbox. So I will introduce Tarini before she joins in. Tarini is a full time MBA student at the University of Hong Kong. She was previously based in Mumbai, where she worked as an assistant director, script supervisor, and actor in the Indian film industry. Before returning to Hong Kong, the city she was born in. Tarini has bipolar disorder, which manifested itself in her about 8 years ago, but has successfully managed to remain episode free for the past 6 years through a combination of psychotherapy and maintaining a healthy lifestyle, which includes running. Welcome, Tarini.
Hi, Soumya. Thanks for having me.
Hi, we have a lot of people who've joined in now, and everyone's obviously saying much needed concept for today. So important to talk about mental health. So we will straight dive into it. So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's 9:36 in the morning here. So,
Yeah, and I hope you grabbed your cup of coffee or tea.
yes, I've had my chai.
Yeah, good, good. So Tarini is currently in the US. She's doing a program from Columbia University, and that's why it's like morning for her and evening for us here in India. So we'll dive straight into the questions, Tarini. So while the focus of this, I know that exercise as a point can be a stress buster, but I wanted to take on running as an example because you've been through it, and the questions are basically around that. So when did you take up running? Tell us something about your running journey.
Um, I started running about 10 years ago, as soon as I graduated from college. And initially, I wouldn't do very long distances. I wouldn't run more than, say, 6 kilometers a day. But over the years, I gradually built up the distances I would run, and I eventually ended up running my first half marathon about 5 years ago.
That's wonderful. And I'm sure the first time when you did a 6 kilometer, there would be another, uh, you know, a few days, a few weeks to actually reach that six, because there are a lot of people who need to take that first step, and it doesn't really matter whether it's six or what, but it must have taken some time to even go to a six to
Yeah,
start with.
yeah, certainly. I mean, I would say, I guess it was after college that I started running on my own as an exercise. I suppose for me in particular, the reason why it was probably easier maybe to achieve that six is because I was very active in school as well. And so, through playing football or whatever, I would run through that sport as well. But definitely, I mean, like when you start out, you don't have to like start out immediately doing six. You could do like one or two or whatever.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the sooner someone starts, the better it is. And like you said, you were already doing it in school. That said, it's never too late, but yes, it does give you a head start.
Yeah, never too late for sure.
Yeah. So okay, so did the situation make you take it up even more and more passionately and closely?
Well, I had always been a runner, but certainly the manifestation of my mental disorder made me take my running more seriously than I previously had. So I would say that initially, I would just do it as exercise. But now I kind of see it as, both exercise, but also a form of, just um, like physical psychotherapy, if that makes any sense.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I think that's what I wanted to put this emphasis on to the viewers, that a lot of people think exercise as a thing to do, and it is going to be painful. So I think gradually when people get into any form of exercise or a walk or a run, how that burden of calling it an exercise slowly goes away because you start doing well in something, and then it automatically becomes like a therapy for you.
Yeah, yeah. It becomes something that you just it's a release in all senses of the word.
Right, right. Excellent. So how much role did it play in your well-being, through the 8 month, or the time that you were depressive?
As you had mentioned earlier, running certainly releases endorphins. So that certainly helped me during my 8 month long depressive episode, even if only for temporary periods of time. It's definitely not the only solution to managing mental illness, but it's certainly an important component of recovery, in combination with other forms of treatment, such as psychotherapy, for example.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you've kind of been through it, and you've experienced it. But you know, the more and more you read on this topic, it's like the more telling people that this needs to be prescribed more. We are not saying that it's only running and you're sorted, or it's only exercise and you're sorted. Even if, course, because people go through different levels of emotional lows and highs and lows, and so on. But it is definitely a part, along with medication, along with psychotherapy. Exercise should also be included. It's a combined package per se, and exercise is something that is mostly not there most of the time.
Yeah, definitely.
So a lot of people are writing nice things. There is Seema Bakshi Sinha who's saying, is walking equally effective? So we will come to that. We will take all questions and we will address all this, because we have a question on walking as well. More power to you, Tarini. Chanda Bakshi Chandra. And we have Vinita Chandra saying, so important to talk about mental health. Absolutely, couldn't agree more. A topic that most of us don't talk about. Geeti Chandra saying, mental health, physical health, such an important discussion. Absolutely. It's also connected. Yeah. So we will come back to the comments in a while we answer some more questions. Yeah. And yeah. So what did you feel, Tarini, after a run? Because a lot of people say that, okay, everyone talks about exercise and running. So what is that feeling that you get, especially after you've gone into an episode, especially when you're going through months of not feeling so great? You push yourself, you walk out the door, you go and exercise. What is that feeling that you have after a run?
Um, I would feel, and still do feel, slightly euphoric after a run, which at least at that time was not a feeling that I thought I was capable of achieving, during the depressive episode. I think the times right after my run were the only times that I actually managed to attain a somewhat positive outlook on life. Um, yeah, during those 8 months.
Yeah, and it's so wonderful to hear that, because, I just like wanted to emphasize more and more that, it's for people of all, people who are, in general day, in a general day, how exercising, how any form of exercise or running can actually improve your mood, can actually make you a happier person. And that, in fact, your physical exercise relates to your mental exercise, and generally you have a good day at the end of the day. It's all connected. And also very interesting answer, Tarini, because usually, we've heard of a runner's high, and usually we associate that with people who probably run every day, people who are, practicing for marathons and so on. Every time they go for a long run, they will always, and that is absolutely true, to have that whole concept of a runner's high that we've kind of read and heard in, many places. But I wanted to make a point that, a runner's high can also be achieved by going for a walk, can also be achieved by doing a short distance. It's not only in, serious runners who do marathons who have this feeling of the a runner's high. It is euphoric for people, no matter how much you run, no matter how much you walk. The point is to start, and the feeling of feeling happy from within comes after any form of exercise that you do. More and more people joining in, Tarini. We have Mihir Pandey who says, very informative. Absolutely. Shivangi Vinayak Prasad saying, what are the steps I should take to make running a habit? We will come to that. Or maybe we can just answer it right away. Uh, what steps should I take to make running a habit? I think I can talk about it in two lines, and Tarini, feel free to jump in.
So,
I think the first thing, Shivangi, is you need to start by a walk. It's not about making running a habit. And there are people who walk a lot, there are people who run a lot. So it depends on which part of journey or of a fitness journey you are in. If you're already a walker, you could do like 100 meters or a 200 meters of a jog and then again go into walk. You should not think like, oh, I have never run before, so I can't do it. So you need to start with a walk, go into a gradual jog, go back to a walk. So do like a run, walk, and gradually, you start increasing your distance of running in the same duration. And then it'll automatically become a habit once you start doing it more often. And you will also start enjoying it. Okay. We have Archita Nath saying, congratulations to Tarini for sharing her experience with so much honesty. And thank you, Soumya, for this discussion, which will help so many of us. Thank you, Archita. More and more people joining. Okay. So yeah, I was in fact coming to that because I know a lot of us, most of us, I mean, on running we can go on and on, but I know majority of the people are hesitant when it comes to running. A lot of people have never done that, or they're just, apprehensive of kind of breaking into a jog because they've never done it. But walking is something that comes very, very naturally to people. So, my next question to you, Tarini, is, while you were running and when you started running and when you reached the 6K and then a half marathon, so was it only running or did you also include walks in between?
For me, back then, it was primarily jogging or running. I would do a very short walk to cool down after my runs. However, having said that, any form of exercise releases endorphins and is certainly still more effective than being sedentary. In fact, I've actually been walking a lot more of late because I've had the privilege to live in very walkable cities. I mean, here in New York, for example, there are parks all over the place. So, in fact, I'm going to go on a walk later today. So I mean, one, certainly should not discount the effectiveness of walking at all. Because it's still an exercise, it'll still release endorphins. So walking is great too.
Absolutely, and couldn't agree more with you, Tarini. I know a lot of people who kind of come to me and say, "Oh, I didn't exercise today. I just walked." And I look at them and say, "Really? I mean, is walking not good?" So I would encourage all our viewers to keep in mind that you know a walk. You should never underestimate a good walk. It can do wonders, both physically and mentally. And there are a lot of writers who actually include walk as a part of their writing thing in the day. And a walk can actually generate a lot of creative ideas because your subconscious mind is at work. So people don't realize it, but walking has great benefits and it should never be underestimated. Running, of course, but yes, people should start with walks. People who are already doing it should always be doing it, and it's a great thing to do. Like you said, I mean, we all walk. I mean, you don't have to really learn a skill to start walking, so that's great. We have a question coming in. Aditi Chandra, how does one actually get up and run, walk, or do exercise when, yeah, or when we're actually coming to that, Aditi, in a bit. How does one actually get up and run, walk, or do exercise when one is in a depressive episode? Any tips on making that push of getting up and going, especially when the mind is pushing one to say, stay put? Absolutely. In fact, this is one of the questions, Aditi. We will just come to that in a bit. We have covered this, so we will come to that. We have more things, but we will come to that. We'll come to all questions in a bit. So Tarini, when you started running and when you were doing actually, playing football in school and so on. So when you actually started in college and after college, did the distance really matter? Did you have in your head that I'm going to go out and run a particular distance, or you just went and enjoyed and came back?
I think distance is a very personal choice. Some people prefer to sprint shorter distances, whereas others, like myself, prefer to run longer distances at a more measured pace. I personally like to run long distances because I feel like I'm challenging myself to build up my endurance. But in short, no, I don't think the distance matters. It's honestly just whatever you're comfortable with. Um, yeah.
Right. And a lot of people, Tarini, think that, oh, I don't have the time to do this, or I don't have the time to exercise or go for a walk. So, I would like to tell all the viewers that even if it's 5 minutes, even if it's 10 minutes, even if it's inside your house, make the most of it and, just start doing it because, it's not an overnight thing, but gradually you will see its effects or in your personal physical and mental fitness. So yes, the distance doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you go for a 10-minute walk or a half an hour walk or a 2-hour walk. The point again and again emphasized is to start. Yes, so I will just come to that question that Aditi has asked. In fact, we have it now. So, Tarini, how did you persuade yourself to run on a particular day when you just didn't feel like? Because the toughest part for most of us is to start. So, how did you find your starting point really? And especially when you're in a depressive mode or going through an episode, how do you make up your mind to just start?
So I think, I first began running because it was the most accessible exercise, in that all one really needs is a pair of legs. I also enjoy outdoor exercise, which is why it appealed more to me than going to a gym, for example. It's also often hard to start running if one has had a long break from it.
Yeah.
So prior to my depressive episode, I hadn't run in about 4 months. So getting myself to start again was the most difficult. Eventually, however, the memory of how I felt after my runs was enough to get me to lace up my shoes again. And if there was ever or is a particular day when I just don't feel like it, I would, and I still do tell myself that there is no doubt that I will feel better after my run. And that has truly always been the case. I genuinely don't know of anyone for whom that is not the case. So yeah, I mean, I would say for, those who are sort of like struggling to even get out of bed, um, and when nothing else is working really, uh, you have to tell yourself that you will feel better after a run, and I guarantee that they will feel better after a run. Like, I can say that for certain.
Excellent, excellent. And this actually brings to a very important point that, I have experienced it myself, where, there is this mantra that I follow which says mood follows action, right? So there are a lot of times, and we are all human, we all go through our highs and lows, and there are times when you don't want to exercise. Even if you're a runner, there is a day in the week when you just don't want to do it, right? And any time that you don't want to get up, any time that you don't want to exercise, I tell myself that I know for a fact that my mood will improve if I act upon it. So definitely mood follows action, and I think that is something that everyone should remember. And like you said, Tarini, that you remember, you have that memory of that feeling that you had after the run, and that memory of being happy and euphoric is good enough for you to start again. So I think it kind of remains in your head that yes, once you go for a walk, how did you feel? Did you feel good? Just remember how you felt, and I'm sure it will not be tough to again get out and go and then start doing it. We have Vinita Chandra who says, Aditi, I was just going to ask exactly the same question. When one is emotionally low, the tendency is to just stay in bed. Yes, absolutely. And like I said, and Tarini, it's actually so. I mean, it's so easy. It's easier to stay in bed than to actually get up and go out. But yes, if someone remembers how the feeling was and remember mood follows action, You will feel better than not going for a walk or an exercise or whatever that may be. We have Geeti Chandra who says totally true about generating ideas. So she's a writer, and you go for a walk, and like I said, it generates creative ideas. You just have to be kind of away from your system, away from your workstation for a bit. Whenever you are doing something intense, and take a walk, go for a short jog, come back, and you might not get an idea immediately, but I'm sure the walk would have helped in getting that idea. Okay, we have more people. We have Kamini Karlikar who's saying what is most impressive is that you found a combination that works for you, Tarini, and integrated it into your life. More power to you. Absolutely. And I think, everyone has their own interests in their field. I think everyone has, something that they might like, something that they might not be interested in. So people need to find out what is it that they get interested by and start doing that. Okay, we have Seema Bakshi Sinha saying it is meditative, connects you to nature, so calming as well. Am I right? So maybe you can answer that, Tarini.
Yes, Seema, you are certainly right. It is meditative. I think it also connects back to what Soumya was saying about how it kind of generates ideas. I mean, at least when I was in Bombay working in the film industry, I would go on a lot of runs when I felt like I had writer's block, for example. So it was meditative in the sense that it helped clear my mind. And then once my mind was clear, I was able to sort of generate more creative ideas, as Soumya said.
Yeah, and absolutely about the calming part, it's also like now during COVID, most of us are not able to get out. But there are studies and research that say that even if you just look at nature pictures, you walk inside your house, you look at calming pictures of nature, and people have these various wallpapers of these beautiful places. And by just looking at the pictures kind of calm you down. And if you can step out, that's great. But if you can't, then even by looking at pictures of nature can help calm you down. Tarini, more questions and comments for you. Thanks, Tarini. This is Anjani Sinha saying, thanks, Tarini, for your views on walking. I'm a regular morning walker and cover 5 kilometers diligently at a good pace. It definitely energizes me physically and mentally. Yeah, so we have more and more proof coming up about the benefits of walking, running. We have Geeti Chandra. Do you listen to something when running or walking? And if you listen to music, what kind of music do you listen to, Tarini?
I always listen to music when I'm running, Geeti. Um, yeah, I mean, I honestly, I'm not sure whether I'd be able to do such long distances without listening to music. And in terms of the kind of music I listen to, really, all kinds of music, spanning from like classic rock to hip hop to Bollywood to, I mean, just whatever I feel like it. Especially if you're a regular runner, then you rotate the genres that you're listening to because it's nice to spice things up once in a while.
Absolutely. And Geeti, to your point, whenever you put on music, you can also match your steps to the beat.
Yeah, yeah,
So that also helps you. If you want to go on a fast walk, you put fast
yeah.
music. If you want to go on a slow walk, you put slow music, and so
Yeah.
on.
Definitely, at least when I'm running it, it's definitely like no matter the genre, it's always up tempo, that's for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, just going further into more questions, Tarini, can you share some tips for people who are emotionally unwell and seek to look at medicines as the only way to get better?
I would advise them to at least give running a try because it certainly can't hurt. Um, I personally am also a strong believer in non-chemical forms of treatment, as one doesn't have to risk the side effects of chemical forms of treatment. Having said that, sometimes it is necessary to be on medication, and I myself was medicated during my manic episode. but I haven't been on any preventative medication since. And I do believe that one should try and limit or reduce one's dependence on medication as much as possible, as some of the long term side effects can be particularly severe in certain cases.
Yeah, and that said, I think we touched upon this point, a little earlier as well, where we said it's a combined thing. If you want to, and as Tarini said, that if you want to kind of not depend on medication for a longer time because of the side effects, start exercise early in your toolkit. Keep it as a tool, even on good days, even on bad days, and it should be a part of your daily thing to do, like brushing your teeth. I mean, it's as simple as that. Yeah. So, Tarini, going into another question, do you think, this is more on a generic way on mental health, not really running, but do you think there is a lack of mental health awareness around, especially in India? And what are your thoughts on this particular issue?
I think that significant progress was made in raising awareness about 5 years ago when Deepika Padukone spoke about her battle with depression on national television. She even went on to start her own foundation, and I think that for someone of her stature to do that was a huge turning point in the conversation. Unfortunately, I think that we as a nation have taken a few steps backward in the recent past with certain personalities making unnecessarily sensational and ignorant comments in the media. I also think that the onus is on the media to report responsibly, and I can only hope that they begin to do so in the future.
Right. And while I wanted this talk, to be mostly on, how exercise kind of helps you in your emotional lows. But yes, I also wanted to, use this platform to make sure that people always, come up and, are open about it, just like you are. And we have a comment from Aditi, who says, "Your courage is inspiring, Tarini. Taking this kind of effort on one's own when suffering a mental health issue is nothing short of incredible." So, so yeah, absolutely, and I really would encourage, people, and generally, it's such a, I mean, like you said, Tarini, it kind of went back, it made progress, it kind of went back, and I'm sure it will again come back. So it's like, it's taking longer than usual. I know people are talking about it more, and people may be wanting to, it's time to talk about it even more. So that's one of the reasons for this session as well, along with the importance of exercise and fitness to be included. So, Tarini, if there is one thing that you would like to tell people about mental health awareness, what would that be? Or rather, what myths about mental illness would you like to bust?
Uh, I suppose one myth that I would like to bust is that although certain mental disorders, like bipolar disorder, for example, are incurable, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not manageable. As long as one takes the right steps early enough, one can lead a relatively normal episode-free life. Um, so yeah, that's something that I would like people to know.
Right, absolutely. And for all the viewers, it's about, being with the family member, about encouraging and encouraging the person to speak up. A lot of people do not speak up thinking what will others think of me, and they kind of, not talk about it. So that's very important for the family to know about it, and to encourage fitness in the family, and to be more open about a topic like this. So yeah, so thank you so much, Tarini, for taking out time, opening up, for being who you are, being so honest with us, being willing to have these kind of conversations, on a public forum. which can, I know, bring about a lot of difficult emotions before the conversation, during the conversation, and after the conversation. It is not easy. And I really appreciate it. And I'm sure people like Tarini will be willing to be talking about their experience and what is it that they did to overcome certain things and to be fit. So I would like to, again go to the viewers, and while they have asked me questions, any other questions that anyone has, if there is a question that I have missed, I will just, go and see that. But I think we've answered more of it. But viewers, please feel free to, to ask more questions. People are thanking you. Okay, we have a question here. I will just put it up, Tarini, on the screen. Okay, Ananya is asking a question. Was it difficult to balance college work with taking out time to run? I find that exercise really helps to balance the physical with the mental part at times when I have to spend hours of the day sitting and studying or writing, but it becomes hard to manage time during exams or submissions.
Well, I'd say that I can sort of relate to that even now since I'm studying again at the age of 30. Uh, the thing is that, like, if you have, say, 3 hours to study, right? And after an hour, you feel kind of burned out. But you have a lot more to go through, and you say, oh, but, like, if I step out right now, then I'm going to cut into, like, the 2 hours that I have left. I would say that even if you take half an hour out and you go and you do that walk and you come back, or you do that jog or you do that run and you come back, the 1.5 hours that you have left, you're going to end up being much more productive in that 1.5 hours than you would have over the entire 2 hour period. So I would say that, you should definitely take out time, because if you take out time to do any exercise, you're not cutting into the remaining time that you have. You're just making that remaining time more productive. Because if you're burnt out, then there's no point in just sitting there unnecessarily. Then your brain is going to be slow, and you're not going to be as productive. So I would say definitely take out that half an hour. It doesn't even have to be more than that.
Absolutely, Tarini and Ananya. I would like to make a point here where we are talking about taking out time for exercise because we think it's something to do. But I would like to emphasize on the point for all our viewers that movement is a part of your job. It isn't anything extra or apart from your job. So you should treat it as a part of your college submission. As simple as that. So if you have 5 things to do, you have your sixth thing is to go for a run or do an exercise. So you have 6 things to do. It's not out of the whole thing, it is a part of the whole thing. But thank you for asking. Very, very good. We have Sonam. How do you push a family member into the benefits of exercise when they lose hope completely?
Uh, I would say that, if it is somebody who is as close to you as a family member or a relative, perhaps one way in which, you could also sort of push them or convince them to start with something very basic like going on a walk is that you could go with them. um, I mean, to be very honest, I personally have not been in that situation because I've never had to push another family member since I was in that situation myself. But I do remember sometimes, when I was feeling low, one of my best friends would sort of call me up and say, let's go on a walk. And so then having him, give me that company or give me that push, it for me it would be like, okay, like, I'll go hang out with him, like, I'll speak to him for a little bit or whatever. So I would say that's definitely like one suggestion, in that you could offer to go on a walk with them.
Yeah, yeah. Right. So basically, instead of saying that, you should go and walk, because like I said in the beginning of the conversation, that is very easy to say go and exercise. And a person who is going through an episode might be like, it's very easy to tell someone. But if you accompany the person, it might have a larger impact because the person will anyway be doing it. So might as well have a conversation with the person on a walk.
Yeah, and so
That's how you start.
you're not like positioning it as, oh, we are going to do exercise. It's like, okay, like, let's just go out on a walk, let's just have a talk. And then, automatically the person ends up exercising without even realizing it.
Absolutely. We have more questions coming in. Uh, this is Saroj. Can I start running at 62?
Hi, mom. Yes, you can start running at 62. I have told you many times before that you should start running. And since Malika is at home and I know that she does running, or she has started running a little bit here and there, maybe the two of you can go together.
Excellent. So then they have company.
And I'm sure I'll hear from Malika after this conversation.
Yeah. Okay, Seema Bakshi Sinha is asking, what do you do about panic attacks? Will going for a walk help at that point of time?
That's actually a really interesting question, Seema. I have had to deal with a few panic attacks, like randomly here and there over the past few years. Walking definitely helps. I would say that at a time that you're going through a panic attack, you should immediately try to start regulating your breathing, and you should go on a walk, because if you go on a walk, then that will automatically help regulate your breathing. Because if you just stay still, it often becomes worse. And definitely, like, once you start walking, and you could even like walk, even if you're walking like at a brisk pace, at a slow pace, whatever, as long as you're going at a measured pace and you're regulating your breathing, you'll find that within a few minutes or so, you've calmed down. So yes, you should certainly do that.
Yeah, we have people saying, Gauri Anil Sinha saying, excellent suggestion, not difficult to follow. Ananya is thanking you for the college question and the taking out time for a run. Sonam is saying, great, thanks a lot. So yeah, so I think that's what we have in terms of questions, but feel free, viewers, to put in more questions as they come by. So I think we are done, Tarini, with the questions, and I would really like to end this session by saying that, for our viewers, that if you are struggling with thoughts of despair, if you're struggling with meaninglessness or self harm, whether it's you, whether it's a family member, whether it's someone you know, please do not be ashamed to get help. One of the strongest tools that you have is yourself. And if you don't run, it's okay, you start with walks. But or do any kind of preferred exercise that you like, but the point is to start now. If you're already a walker, break into small jogs, and and then go back to a walk and see how you feel. And honestly, in today's day and age, majority of us go through a lot of emotional stress in general, and especially with this whole COVID thing happening around, it's even increased multifold. So sharing what you feel for the viewers, and not brushing it under the carpet along with exercise, works wonders for everyone alike, all genders, all age groups. And like I said, I just wish it was prescribed more often, like a prescription. When you go to a doctor, I wish they would actually write it down, saying that you need to walk, you need to run, you need to do exercise as a prescription, because it's just taken as a hearsay. Oh, I know it's supposed to be good for me, I should be doing it. So I think it should be prescribed more often. And before I end, I would like to share a small story. And this is one of the podcasts that I had heard, which I wanted to share about this. A story about this lady whose psychiatrist had told her that every time she had an intrusive thought causing her distress, that she should go to the closest human around and tell that person about it. So it was more about expressing, go to the closest person and tell that person about it. Do not keep it inside her. And once when she was in Egypt on top of this really tall building, and she looks down and she had these thoughts of jumping off. So she went and told the tour guide, because he was the closest human around, and the tour guide turned around and said, who doesn't feel that way when they are up here? So it's about looking down and wanting to jump in general, or looking down and having those thoughts of jumping. So I think the point is that if any are up there, people do want to just fly, people just want to like jump. I mean, that thought comes instantly into someone's mind. And I just would like to kind of end on that story, which basically means open up, talk to the closest human, have fitness incorporated in your day to day life, whether you're happy, whether you're low, it helps a lot, it goes a long way. And spread the message and spread the word. So that's what I wanted to emphasize, Tarini, and thank you again for being so willing to open up and letting everyone know what you've been through and how running has helped you. And I'm sure all those listening in, it will help them a lot. The point is to just start. And for everyone else, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for participating. It's a combined conversation that all of us had here. And please do encourage yourself. Please do encourage family members to open up. You can only motivate each other. And, if you're living in the same house, we kind of learn from each other. So, yeah, that point on going for a walk with a family member or a friend was a great point. So, guys, start now. It's never too late. And I'm sure you will feel the difference. And we have people saying that, Soumya, you should come back so that we can share what we felt after a walk. So Seema says, Soumya, you should come back so that we can share what we felt after what we do. Very inspiring session indeed. Thank you. Everyone's thanking. Thank you so much, Tarini. And thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
It was my pleasure, Soumya. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Tarini. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.